Hey everybody, K-Mully here. Pokemon FireRed with only a C-Dot was more difficult than I had imagined. Today we'll be seeing if we can beat Pokemon FireRed with only a Spoink. Spoink has slightly higher base stats than Swablu, its highest being a special defense. Being weak to only 3 different types is actually pretty nice. By level up we get some really good moves, however we start off with Splash, a move that is nothing and has 40 uses. We will need to learn Scythe Wave at level 7 before we can actually make any real progress. But we do get some pretty good TMs that we can learn. This introduction is being written before I attempt the challenge. Besides the beginning of the game, I feel as though we won't have any difficulties in completing the challenge. Going over the rules real quickly, I can only use Spoink in battle. I'll need other Pokemon for 8 gems, but they can't fight. No using glitches or exploits, and no using items in battle. Held items, such as leftovers, are allowed. Using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, I replaced Charmander with Spoink. I nicknamed it Bruce after Bruce Springsteen. Get it? Because Spring and Spoink bounces. Anyways, we are Dolls in nature, so we have no changes to our stats. Our ability is Thick Fat, which means we take half damage from Fire and Ice moves. The other ability would have been Own Tempo, which prevents us from being confused. But either one is still good. Alright, so the first rival fight is an automatic loss. We can only use Splash, which means our chances of winning are 0. And it's like, even if I could use our only potion, it wouldn't save us in the long run. Before we can take on any other trainers, we need to learn Scythe Wave at level 7. My strategy is to use Struggle against the Metapods and Kakunas and Viridian Force, and grind up that way since they can't deal any damage to us as well. Spoink gains a lot of good experience, the process should be very quick. So we finally get Scythe Wave, which is great. Now we can deal some serious damage. Well, yes and no. It's a move that deals a random amount of damage based around a current level. Also, in this generation, it only has an 80% accuracy, so no guarantee that it will connect each time. I waste no time with Brock and start spamming Scythe Wave right away. Despite it dealing random damage, it's her only method of dealing any damage at all. After about a minute, we take down his Geodude and Onix. Alright, second rival fight. And while we're at Mount Moon, we got access to Side Beam, a 65 power special type move with a 10% chance of flinching or confusing the target and 100 accuracy. So you can imagine we're going to be using Scythe Beam a lot more over Scythe Wave just because it's so much better. Okay, time for the Misty fight. So along the way we get Confuse Ray, which confuses the target when it makes contact. Much more reliable than waiting on Scythe Beam to confuse the target. Not a whole lot happens with this fight. I switch between Confuse Ray and Scythe Beam, and eventually her Star Me and Star You, or other way around, go down with no issues. Okay, so just to save some time, I'm going to go over the third rival fight and Lieutenant Surge all in one take. So for, our rival literally side beam his entire team. We're strong, we can take him out, no issues there. Lieutenant Surge, we eventually get Psychic, so that's what I do. I just use Psychic and I spam that and we win. Alright, so Spoink is a very strong special attacker apparently, so to save even more time, we use Psychic. We just spam Psychic on the third rival fight, as well as, or the fourth, as well as Erica's Gym, who is a grass poison type, which we're super effective against. Okay, so for the first Giovanni fight, it goes pretty similar as the other battles, you know, just spamming Psychic and whatnot. But what makes this different is that at level 43 we got Bounce, a 2-turn flying type move, physical, with 85 power, 85 accuracy, and it's basically we spring up into the air, and then we attack on the next turn, and has a chance of paralysis. But because this is a physical move, and our attack stat is pretty low, it doesn't really come in handy that often, at least for this fight. Okay, so we're up against Koga. His poison types are weak against our psychic type moves, and you know the drill at this point. We're just going to spam Psychic, and I'm going to take this 1.5-minute clip and shorten it down to at least 15 seconds. Okay, time for the fifth rival fight. Not a whole lot different. Pidgeot now is stronger. It tries using Sand Attack to lower our accuracy, but if worst case scenario we have Shockwave to take care of that. Blastoise, we have Shockwave for that as well, but Psychic is good answer as well. The only real difficulties with this battle is with Alakazam and Execute. Now, Execute is always going to get off like a status on us, whether that be sleep or paralysis. So that's going to hurt in the long run. And by the time we get to Alakazam, we're already crippled. Alakazam mostly tries setting up with Calm Mind, which raises its special defense and special attack. So my strategy is to get lucky with Bounce, since Bounce is physical and Alakazam has poor physical defense. And hopefully we can get off of Paralysis with it or take it out, and then hopefully use Psychic for the final blow. To summarize this Giovanni fight, literally Psychic on poison types, go down easily. Kangaskhan has massive health, but again, Psychic knocks it out super quickly. Okay, so time for Sabrina. So her first Pokemon is Kadabra, which goes down to a Psychic as it's pretty weaker than the rest of her team. Venomoth is part poison type, so Psychic is super effective against it. But Mr. Mime is where the struggles really come in. So Mime will use Barrier to raise his defense greatly, but then he'll use Baton Pass to pass it off to Alakazam. And Alakazam's strategy is to set up with Calm Mind. So basically its special defense, special attack, and regular defense are all boosted up, making it very beefy and hard to take down. But eventually we do get it down after some luck with Paralysis, and we take down Mr. Mime later, and we get the badge. Okay, so Blaine went down pretty simple with Psybeam and Psychic, and the same can be said about Giovanni, because let's face it, Psychic is pretty overpowered, especially in the earlier games. And yeah, so basically taking a 2.5 minute clip and splicing it into about 25 seconds. Okay, time for the last main rival fight before the Elite Four. So the team is pretty standard. Pidgeot uses Wing Attack. Blastoise will use Rain Dance, and then Hydro Pump and Bite. But then the real challenge is going to be with Execute. Now, the strategy I came up with was equipping a Spoink with either a Chesto Berry or a Cherry Berry, as Execute will always try going for a Stun Spore or a Sleep Powder off the bat. So I figured if we can just heal off the status from the start, then we should have a much faster time and we'll be wasting turns taking damage. So Lorelei's team actually caused us a lot of challenges. Dugong, basically my main strategy was to use Psychic and Shockwave, as electric type moves are very super effective against her water type Pokemon. If you look on my moveset, I taught Spoink Torment. Now what Torment does is prevents the opponent from using the same move twice. So they can't just keep spamming like status inflicting moves or setting up as much as they would like to. My strategy for this was so that we could survive so we wouldn't get railed with 2 body slams in a row. The only real challenge or anything noteworthy was Jinx putting us to sleep with Lovely Kiss, but then us waking up with our Chesto Berry, and then using Shockwave, or I think it was Psychic, to finish off the rest of our team. Okay, like I said before, Lorelei is only the real challenge with her bulky Ice-type Pokemon. So Bruno, the fighting type user, and Agatha, the ghost type user, they both go down very quickly. With Agatha, her ghost types are also poison types, so that's like an easy sweep for Psychic. So yeah, they go down both pretty quickly. Okay, time to face Lance. So he starts off with Gyarados, which lowers their attack with Intimidate. And Gyarados is a water flying type, so our Shockwave does 4 times damage against it. And then Aerodactyl is rock and flying, so Shockwave is also super effective against it as well. But by the time we get a Dragonite, our Psychic is hardly dealing any damage against it. And because of that, it survives and hits us with the Hyper Beam, knocking us out. So it looks like we have to rethink our strategy before we can take down Lance. Okay, so I replaced Torment with Calm Mind, as boosting our special attack is going to be a lot more beneficial than preventing the opponent from using the same move twice in a row. So I go ahead and use Calm Mind against Gyarados, as it'll probably go for Dragon Range, which deals 40 damage each time. So then when Psychic takes it out, I set up another Calm Mind with Aerodactyl and Psychic to take it out. But Dragonite survives with Slither of red health, and our Citrus Berry barely recovers us to half health, so Hyper Beam is enough to take us out. I finally get an attempt where Gyarados uses Dragon Rage twice in a row, and I can set up 2 Calm Minds. I'd rather take the 80 damage now than risk Aerodactyl hitting us with a critical Ancient Power getting Zap boost. So once we get onto Dragonite, our Psychic is finally strong enough to take it out in 1 hit, and the 2 Dragoneers go down pretty simple. Okay, time for the champion fight. So Pidgeot's main strategy, like usual, is to use Sand Attack to lower our accuracy and prevent us from making contact. And so I take this opportunity to use Calm Mind and set up. Psychic might be lowered accuracy, but Shockwave still has perfect accuracy, and Pidgeot just happens to be weak to electric moves. So I use Shockwave to take it out, and I use Shockwave on Blastoise as well, and the majority of his team. For Rhydon, I use Psychic just because it's immune to electric type moves, and for Execute and Alakazam, I use Psychic and Shockwave as well. And with that, we win the challenge. So overall, I would have to say this challenge was interesting, to say the least. The beginning obviously sucked as we could only use Splash, but once we got access to strong Psychic type moves, it was a breeze. The Elite Four, obviously that was a bit rough with Lorelei, but once we got through that, our only other challenge was the Lance, just surviving Hyper Beam, and the rival fight or the champion fight was a breeze. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe and like down below. And follow me on Twitter, where I'll be posting general updates about videos, my life, and TikTok, where I'll be opening booster packs at least once or twice a week. Alright, with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.